Good day to you. My name is Maria Kądzielska and you are watching Poland Daily Culture. And we have with us really extremely interesting guest, Oswald Rodrigo Pereira, a high-attitude filmmaker, but also a person who joined this year winter attempt to summit K2 mountain. Thank you very much for being with us.
Hello, the pleasure is mine.
Oswald, just to say, because you're a Polish journalist and a Polish reporter with Portuguese roots, as your last name tells to our viewers and to our listeners, and you work there this year in K2 as a photographer, please, and also a filmmaker. Please tell me how one day in K2 looks like.
Well, as you can imagine, the day is usually determined, like the agenda, by the weather. Because if you have good weather, you can climb. You try to gain some altitude on K2 wall. But usually you have long periods of time without good weather. And this year it was around 14 to 16 days of bad weather, on which we had to stay on base camp. So usually I try to organize myself every day on a daily basis so that I had some tasks to do, because otherwise, you can get a little bit insane, because you stay so much time, so long hours sitting and doing nothing. So usually I would wake up before 8 a.m., have breakfast. After breakfast, usually I would go to do some footage of the mountains or do some interview. So that time would pass until lunch, and usually after lunch I would read a little bit, then make a short, let's say, siesta. You said like Portuguese roots, maybe it's more a Spanish thing to do, but yeah, usually I'll take a nap to recover a little bit, listen to some music, and usually from 5 p.m. we would gather and play cards or chess, or again like read some books. Actually, during this expedition, I read, I think, 7 books or even more. So it was a good average for, let's say, 50 days. I had a Sudoku also on my ebook, so I would solve a little bit of Sudoku to see if my brain is working well on altitude, because, as you probably know, depending on altitude, your cerebral condition can get worse. So it was a good exercise to see if I'm in good shape, in good condition, in mental point of view. So basically that was my schedule. Dinner was around 7 p.m. and then sometimes I would discuss weather conditions, sometimes discuss the actual situation in the world, or what is the pandemic doing to our countries, what are the circumstances, etc. Sometimes we had some fundamental discussions with our Pakistani friends that were there from the Pakistani army. So usually the days would, they were not very busy, but I tried to organize myself so that every day I had some tasks to do, so that, the time doesn't go so slowly.
Well, books which you've read at such high, like under K2, well, I would say they will stay in your memory for long. But and how when it comes to toilet, washing yourself, such primitive things, but how does it look like in the base camp and later on when you climb?
Yeah, as you said, those are maybe primitive things, but they are important for your comfort, especially in base camp, because you spend there so much time that you have to make it comfortable. You need to organize yourself so that at least you have a little feeling that you are at home. So in the base camp, we had toilets in small tents. So yeah, you could use them. And once in a while, when there was a sunny day, I would say, for me, maybe once a week, I'll take a shower, which means you ask the cook in the base camp to prepare for you a little bit of hot water. You take it to a small tent, you cover yourself so that you are protected from wind, and basically you just put water all over you and just do what possible to maintain like the hygienic substantial basics. And after, of course, if you start climbing, you forget about, I don't know, taking showers or anything. You just think about keeping warm and etc. So usually on the climbing period, let's say usually it takes around from 5 to 10 hours. Well, usually you don't even think about going to the toilet because you have your down suit on, you are covered, you have a harness, and you have a lot of equipment. So even like disconnected from the safety rope would be really dangerous. So basically, you need to forget about your needs and just keep yourself alive and climbing up until you reach Camp 1 or Camp 2, and then you are able to boil some water, drink some tea, and then go back to your normal life.
And how your work looks like as a photographer and also as a filmmaker. My question is basically, how is it to take a photo in -40 or more, and how the equipment works there? Is it any problem with it? Is it any like a special camera which functionate in such such low temperatures?
Well, those were questions that I was aware before going first time to K2 in winter in 2018. And at this time, I bought a regular Handycam camera, and it just behaved perfect in the winter conditions. I mean, perfect because, of course, depending on the temperature, the battery of the camera can last for, I don't know, 5 hours or a couple of days. So usually what I do, because what's more important than the camera itself are the batteries. So you carry them on your pockets inside your down jacket so that they are warm all the time. Usually whenever I go to sleep in my sleeping bag, I would put like my phone, my cameras, not the cameras, just the batteries inside my sleeping bag, or even inside, I don't know, my trousers or my jacket. So as a filmmaker, for me, it's not important to submit. For me, it's important to go back with a good footage. So it's quite a challenge to keep the camera working, and especially if I want to take more sophisticated cameras than just GoPro. So usually I take the cameras up, and on Basecamp, of course, you can use a tripod. You have more time. You can charge your batteries if you need to, but still it's quite cold. And I remember taking some shots at -45 degrees. And believe me, it was cold. So I was using like special chemical hand warmers. I would put them inside of my glove, warm my hands, then take off the glove just to take one shot or two, and then again gloves. But I really needed to be careful because if you start losing body temperature, at some point you are not able to regain it.
Sounds crazy and also challenging. We see those beautiful photos which Asphalt made just behind us, and I'm sure he has much more there. Also, thank you very much for sharing all this with us, and I do hope you, the viewers of Poland Daily, will stay with us because we continue the topic of K2 in the next episode.